never been to Vietnam, there are plenty of things here that are completely normal that are still shocking and illegal in the rest of the world. When you first come to Vietnam, you might be surprised to see hot young women everywhere. You'll wonder, what the hell is going on? Where have I landed and woken up? Is this some kind of dream? They're working in the airports, at the schools, in the pharmacies, at the front desk of your hotel. Everywhere you look, it seems like there are beautiful young women in Vietnam. So what's up? Is it the drinking water? In fact, there's a perfectly good and logical reason for you to think there are beautiful young women working for you everywhere you look in Vietnam. Because in fact, there are, and there's a great reason for it. And no, it's not just because Vietnamese women are more beautiful than the women in your country, and the population here is younger than the people you're used to at home. There's an actual hard reason for this. The reason there are so many beautiful young women everywhere you look in Vietnam working for you is that job discrimination is completely and totally normal here. Many companies will post a listing saying they're looking for young, attractive women, 20 to 25 years old, unmarried, thin, long black hair. Please include a photo on your resume. This is totally normal in Vietnam, but illegal in the rest of the world. The next perfectly normal thing for you to see in Vietnam, everywhere you look, that's often illegal in the rest of the world, is love and sex hotels. And you might find this one really shocking or odd at first, because Vietnamese sex culture is actually very conservative. You almost never see public displays of affection here. They're taboo and totally faux pas. So you're not even gonna see young couples like kissing. You'd never see someone making out in a bar, even when they've been out drinking. And it's very rare even to see hand holding or to see couples with their arms around each other. So what gives? Why are love and sex hotels completely normal in Vietnam? I've even seen some of these hotels advertising sex toys, sex pillows, dildos, and vibrators right in the photos on their booking website, completely out in the open. You'll see postings with hearts saying fun and love, etc., and a price by the hour. So why is this completely normal in a country where the older generation often don't even sit beside each other when they've been married for decades? The reason love and sex hotels are completely normal in Vietnam is because young couples have nowhere to go. It's also very normal for young people here to live at home well into their late 20s or 30s. Unacceptable for them to do things in public, so everyone ends up at one of these hotels. Often, even older couples go to these hotels if they're having any kind of illicit relationship, because the relations can't happen in their multi-generational family home. By the way, if you're looking for accommodations, love hotel or normal hotel when you're in Vietnam, check out my link in the description below for trip.com, and you can use them to get great deals on hotels, bookings, flights, vans, etc. I'd appreciate it. Now, on to our next thing that's completely normal in Vietnam, but illegal in the rest of the world. Another thing that's completely normal in Vietnam, but illegal in the rest of the world, is public and underage drinking. An auntie literally just came up and rubbed my belly, speaking of inappropriate things. Oh my God, people here are too good. It's very common to see public drunkenness. When I first moved here in 2019, over 5 years ago, I even witnessed like concierge and motorbike valets put people onto their motorcycles and put their hands onto the handlebars when they were too drunk to do it themselves. I've watched drunks get slipped into their cars behind the steering wheel and helped to drive off and DUI through the street. So why is this? What's up with that? Well, for one, there's a very big drinking culture here, and it's considered rude to turn down a drink or to not finish your drink when you hear the famous Mot Hai Ba Yo. On top of that, there's no sort of education about what's right or wrong to do when you are drunk. So it's often a conservative or really inhibited society full of taboos completely unwinds and let loose after a couple drinks. When I was working as a teacher, I on more than one occasion literally had to tell teenagers, don't bring your alcoholic beverages into class, because there was just no concept that this could be wrong. In 2020, a decree did come onto the legal books, making it technically illegal to do certain kind of public drinking and to drink in a few certain public places. But it's still perfectly normal to see people drinking in the streets, completely plastered out of their faces in public spaces, and to be sharing drinks with young people. For me, the first 5 or 6 times I met my in-laws, I could barely stand up straight. It was just what's normal. My wife's uncles are getting me hammered every time I visit their hometown. But let's look on the bright side. The great part about underage and public drunkenness in Vietnam is that there's a fantastic social drinking and nightlife scene here. Hanoi and its infamous beer street is famous for having 50-cent draft beers, and you can definitely still find them. You can go out and have a great night, even in the smallest of towns in Vietnam, and it's pretty easy to get invited into a drinking circle with a family or with a group of uncles who are out for the night, because the general practice here is to offer people drinks, to say "Mo Dai Ba Yo," 1, 2, 3, cheers, and then everyone does a bottoms up. And the rice wine is also dirt cheap. In fact, it's literally often cheaper than bottled water. But the drunkenness leads to another thing that you might be a little bit shocked to find is completely normal in Vietnam, but illegal in the rest of the world. Cigarette smoking. People are smoking cigarettes in Vietnam in 2025 like it's the 1970s. Schools, airports, banks, the post office, you name it. I've seen people light up and puff away anywhere they damn well please. People will light up and smoke beside your babies. It is just not considered a thing here, especially considering most buildings are somewhat open air or don't have a closed roof. You are liable to see people smoke anywhere and everywhere. So be prepared for that culture shock before you arrive in Vietnam. And if you are a smoker, know that cigarettes here are still basically untaxed. So you can buy a package of cigarettes for literally the change in your couch cushions back home. I should also note, everybody here is saying what's up and smiling and being as friendly as possible to me. So it's also completely normal for people in Vietnam to say hi to you and to welcome you to their country. And that's pretty damn rare where I'm from. And if you're squeamish at all, be prepared for this next one, because it's a real shocker to a lot of people, even myself included, the first time I saw it. I'm a street food aficionado. I love eating $1 street food, doing street food challenges. Vietnam has the best street food in the world, if you ask me. But there's still a few things that are normal in Vietnam and completely illegal in the rest of the world. And a few of those things are things that people eat. Some of you might have known this one is coming all along, but it is still perfectly normal in Vietnam for your household pets to end up on the dinner table or in a menu of a restaurant near you. People are definitely still eating cats and dogs in Vietnam. It is perfectly normal to eat canines and felines in Vietnam, but it's illegal in the rest of the world. Let's talk about that. Especially in the north of Vietnam and places around Hanoi, it's definitely still normal to see dog meat and cat meat on menus. And rather than judge or be harsh to other people for their own cultural practices, I'm going to give you a few tips on how you can avoid ending up with cat or dog on your plate while you're here. Because it is normal to serve dog and cat meat in restaurants, I would not worry about accidentally ending up with this on my plate. People are not swapping out dog meat for beef or for chicken. You just need to know the words so you can look at a menu and be able to judge for yourself what it is they're serving you. One of the best ways is just to look at the photos. If you see a restaurant with a photo of a cat or a dog, yeah, that is definitely what's going on there. The other one is to look for the words. So the word for dog meat is cha, tit cha, or nong cha, like grilled or boiled. And for cat, it's meow. So I'll flash those on the screen. Remember them. If you see them on a menu and it's going to be shocking to you, avoid it. Before I get to the last thing that's completely normal in Vietnam but illegal around the world, I do want to warn you that unfortunately debit and card reader scams are still very frequent in Vietnam. When I first got here 5 years ago, I was victim to a debit card reader scam and I lost over $8,000 US. It nearly ruined my Christmas, and I would hate to have the same thing happen to you. In fact, corruption is so common that right now, one of the biggest banks in Vietnam and a former executive and real estate mogul is under investigation for the biggest fraud case in the history of Asia. 13 billion US dollars were stolen, which is nearly 3%, I believe, of the country's entire GDP. So this is like massive, systemic, huge overall corruption and fraud. But there are ways you can protect yourself, be safe, and not have your money put at risk when you're traveling through Vietnam. I strongly recommend using a Wise travel card. If you look below, I'll have it linked in the description of the video, and you can use my affiliate link to sign up for one. But basically, not only will you have your money safe the entire time you're traveling, you'll also avoid terrible currency exchange fees, swaps, and bad ATM rates. And on top of that, the card looks great. It's a beautiful little green thing. It is perfectly normal in Vietnam to exchange your currency and money at a gold dealer and pawn shop. And I don't know, I'm not really into this. And it is definitely illegal in a lot of countries in the world. So to be safe, make sure you do sign up for a Wise travel card, save money on currency exchange, and know that your ATM, PIN, and everything else will be safe while you do your banking here in Vietnamese dong. Next up, I'm going to tell you my last thing that is completely and perfectly normal in Vietnam, but illegal in the rest of the world. And if you haven't guessed already, it's related to these beautiful motorbikes that are surrounding me everywhere I go. Before I tell you my very last thing that's perfectly normal in Vietnam, but illegal in the rest of the world, do use the link below and sign up for your own Wise travel card. Now, if you're coming to Vietnam, be sure not just to look both ways before you cross the street, but to look both ways before you step onto a sidewalk. Though there are beautiful, wide sidewalks all throughout this country, many of them built during the French colonial era, it is still perfectly normal in Vietnam, but illegal in the rest of the world, for people to drive all over the sidewalks. From Hanoi to Ho Chi Minh, to Da Nang, to Nha Trang, to the small towns. If you step onto a sidewalk here, be prepared for an onslaught of traffic in both directions and be willing to risk your life, because it is completely normal in Vietnam to drive a motorbike anywhere and everywhere. If you like this video, make sure to share it, subscribe to the channel, and support. I'm Evan, eh?